Nationwide is so much more than a great insurance company. They're one of America's largest financial services companies. Like how I'm more than Saquon Barkley, the NFL's reigning leading rusher. I'm also the NFL's leading husher. Shh, hush up back there. Wow, I might have just set the hushing record. Well, almost. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Investment Services Corporation, member FINRA, Columbus, Ohio.
Big color, bigger savings. It's Sherwin-Williams' biggest super sale. Get 40% off paints and stains October 17th through the 27th with prices starting at $29.39. Whether you're refreshing your interior or exterior, we've got the colors to bring your vision to life. And with delivery, getting everything to your door is easier than ever. Shop online to have it delivered or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details. Delivery available on qualifying orders.
Looking for these better days.
It is Football Friday, October 17th. I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's what you need to know to make today a better day. Joe Flacco gets the best of Aaron Rodgers in the Icy Hot Bowl last night, and yours truly has immediate betting FOMO and regret. Jared Smith is with me on this Football Friday episode of Better Day, presented by FanDuel. And Jared, I have to acknowledge that the Trench Report identified the Pittsburgh Steelers over the Cincinnati Bengals as the number one mismatch of the week. And that should not surprise anybody, given the performance that we have seen from the Cincinnati Bengals to this point in the season. That being said, on every episode this week, where Mackenzie Rivers and I talked about the Trench Report, and we talked about these games, I even put the video up on Twitter last night to talk about my regrets. This was always a Bengals spot, okay? Sometimes it just comes down to the situation. And on a short week, Tomlin on the road, Thursday night, divisional dog, primetime dogs have been crushing it lately. The whole world down on the Bengals and Steelers with the overinflated record. It was always a Bengals spot. And I hate myself for, listen, I told myself with the experiment with the Trench Report, I'm going to bet all 5 games that are in the top 5 mismatches. So I'm not going to shy away from it now. But as I tweeted out last night, it feels like the Bengals spot to bet. And I hate myself for not betting the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, the game is not played on paper. I think that is, and listen, that is actually the reason why I, over the last year, have taken a significant, bigger interest in the film study element to this, because the game is not played on paper. So the stats are a tool in the toolbox, but it's like when you're going to to build a house, you're not going to use the same tool for every room in the house. There's different things. You put the tile in, you put the carpet in, you put this in, you put that in. It all requires a different tool. And I think the NFL season is like building a house. Each game has its own room to it, right? And I just think you have to be willing to be flexible in certain areas. Now, does that mean it's always going to work out the way that it works out? No, the ball bounces in really funny ways.
And also,
yeah, Flacco looks good. Like Joe Flacco looks like he's very comfortable. He is a freaking legend, man. I think they were calling it the Unk Bowl. That was what I was hearing on social media. The Unk Bowl between Flacco and Rodgers. Just an awesome, awesome football game between two quarterbacks that clearly aren't fully past their prime.
Yeah, I will say though, like and this is something that I try to explain when people view the Trench Report and look at the things that we put out there, you can find value in different places, right? You can look at the advantage that one team might have over the other, and if it's a game where like a team is a dog, for instance, like one of our listeners, Big Craig, shout out again, he hit me up and thanked me for him betting the Giants last week, because in the Trench Report, he identified there was a mismatch in the Giants line over the Eagles line, and he was like, well, I'm getting 7 points here with a game where the Giants have an edge in the trenches. I'm going to take the points with the Giants, and he covered. The other aspect is maybe just isolate certain parts of the game. If you saw the trench mismatch that was identified in this game and said, I'm just going to go with Jaylen Warren rushing props, well, Jaylen Warren had 16 carries for 127 yards last night against the Cincinnati Bengals. That was a way that you could have cashed. If you said what, we tried to get cute last night building the same game parlay, and I said, give me a TJ Watt anytime sack, right? Because of the trench report mismatch. Well, guess what? TJ Watt had a freaking sack last night. So there's different ways that you can take the information and not necessarily say, well, I think I'm going to lay the 5.5 points with the Pittsburgh Steelers just because of the mismatches here. So again, if you played the Warren props, great. If you played the TJ Watt sack, awesome. And if you played the Bengals on the money line, like you've been doing with all these primetime dogs, Jared, you realize 7 out of the last 8 primetime games, the underdogs have won straight up.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, listen, the box score was kind of mixed, right? Pittsburgh won the yards, but turnovers were a problem. I think it was more the spot than anything else. The
Yep.
trench report does feel like a prop tool. I do think that's what I would use it for. I think there's too many other factors that can take place. For example, if a team has a big edge in pass rush, well, what if that quarterback has a really quick time to throw rate
Yes.
and the ball is out of his hands 1, 2, 3? Well, then that pass rush isn't as big of an edge. It's not as big of a factor in the game. That was a big part of the Oregon-Indiana game the other day, right? Like Oregon's pass rush was better than Indiana's offensive line, but Mendoza's got a really quick time to throw rate, so it didn't matter as much. So I think that's where you just have to, again, be like water. You have to be willing to flow. It can't just be this says this, so I'm betting this, automatic, cookie cutter, blind tail. Like you have to be willing to adapt. And I think a tool like something that analyzes a specific matchup within a game, I think the prop market is the best betting mechanism to use for that.
Yeah, well, for the second game in a row, I lost the Chase Brown reception prop because Joe Flacco, now on the Bengals, just doesn't want to target the running backs. When Joe Burrow,
He's too good. He wants to throw to his great receiver. He has great receivers now. He's got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
That's it's a tremendous point because Joe Flacco on the Cleveland Browns targeted the running backs 9 targets per game. Joe Flacco on the Cincinnati Bengals 3 to 4 targets a game.
Different when Jerry Jeudy's your wide receiver 1 than Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. A little different.
23 targets last night for Jamar Chase. And it reminded me of watching last Sunday having a Kyle Pitts reception prop over and watching Michael Penix target Drake London on every single pass play. And I'm just thinking, can we stop with the zone defense? Like, do you want to just like cover the one guy and make somebody else beat you? But listen, it didn't happen against the Falcons, and it didn't happen here against the Bengals because Jamar Chase, 16 for 161 and a touchdown. My goodness.
Yeah, they're legit. I mean, listen, I think at the end of the day, there's a reason why people had a 10 win total for Cincinnati this year.
Yeah.
And they're not going to go over that win total. They're going to stay under. They're probably going to go 9-8. Like that feels like the ceiling. Because their defense is just atrocious. It's atrocious. The defense last night, and I tweeted this out, it looks like when you play Madden on rookie mode without Trey Hendrickson. There is no pass rush. Aaron Rodgers is just chilling, right? On Madden when it's like you get the snap and you're just trying to find someone and there's no pass rush at all. There's no one in your face. That's what the Bengals defense is like without Hendrickson. And it's just, I don't see it changing because the personnel's not going to get better. And let's be honest, it kind of sounds like Hendrickson's going to get moved the next couple weeks. So, he might have played his last game for the Bengals. He might have. So I think there is just a real deterioration with the quality of Cincinnati's defensive scheme. Their tackling, the angles that they take, the pressure that they're able to generate. It's bottom of the barrel.
Steelers are 4-2, still in first place in the AFC North. The Bengals are in second place at 3-4, and the Ravens and Browns are both 1-5. Lamar Jackson expected to be back for the Ravens after their bye week this week. Current odds up on FanDuel right now to win the AFC North. The Steelers are plus 125, the Ravens plus 130, the Bengals plus 550. Jared, who you betting to win this division?
I mean, this market's telling you who's going to win the division right now. It's obvious.
The Baltimore Ravens,
right?
Yeah,
100%. Now, I'll say this to you in the nicest way possible. You can be mad about it, or you can make money from it. People hate the favorites. They hate the Chiefs. All I heard on my timeline last week when the Chiefs beat the Lions was the refs and the Goff penalty and the Kelsey drop, and it's just people hate seeing these continuously good teams figure out a way to get to the promised land. That is what greatness is. You overcome the adversity. The Ravens are 100% winning this division. 100%. Would I bet it? I probably need a little more. I probably need 2-1, but they're definitely winning this division. I feel pretty confident that they're going to win this division.
1-5, and yes, I do believe they'll win this division.
At 9-8, probably, or 10-7. Like they'll go
Yep,
10-7 or 9-8 and win this division.
Well, it's amazing because, they haven't had the most important division games. They haven't played yet. So they still
They
have
haven't
to
played
play
Pittsburgh
the
yet.
Bengals twice, and they have to play the Steelers twice. You win
Exactly.
3 out of those 4 games, you're winning this division. So
And think
they'll-
about
they'll-
this. And think about this schedule for Pittsburgh. It does not get any easier for Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Their schedule. You really have some tight games down the stretch. So I think this is we've seen maybe the best of Aaron Rodgers. I mean, they're a dog. They're going to be a dog at the Chargers. They're probably going to be a dog at the Bears, maybe. They're definitely going to be a dog against Buffalo and Baltimore. They're going to be a dog at Detroit. I mean, these are tough games the second half of the year for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, bad stretch for them. Yeah, the only bet I would make right now is the Baltimore Ravens at plus 130. All right, Jared, let's run through the games here for Sunday. We do have another Monday night doubleheader, so we'll get to those 2 games on the Monday pod. So let's talk about the Sunday slate here, and it starts with another London game, the Rams and the Jaguars from Wembley Stadium, where there is rain in the forecast, and the coverage, the seats are the only part that's covered. The field is not covered there at Wembley, so the rain will affect the play possibly in this game. The Rams stayed on the East Coast all week. They played in Baltimore last Sunday. They did not travel back home. I thought it was really cool watching their practice because they practiced at Camden Yards. So they used the baseball stadium as their practice site for the week, which is really cool watching it. It's kind of old school football in a baseball stadium. But Rams will travel to London, take on the London Jaguars. And up on the FanDuel Sportsbook right now, we're looking at this game with the Los Angeles Rams as a 3-point favorite, Jared. Total of 44.5.
Yeah, it kind of feels like an under game, even without the rain. The Rams D is top 5 limiting explosives, both against the run and the pass. Their pass rush is elite. Trevor Lawrence was like a human pincushion against Seattle last week. So you saw what a good defense can do to that pocket Trevor Lawrence is trying to operate in. I do not fully trust Trevor Lawrence still. I know they had the nice win over the Chiefs. He didn't play his best game. I mean, the signature play was him falling and tripping over himself and then figuring out a way still to score in the end zone. Like, it hasn't been clean for this Jaguars team. And the Nakua injury obviously makes the Rams significantly less dangerous on offense. If you can bracket Devontae Adams and not have to worry about Nakua on the other side, it just makes them much easier to defend. They rely on the run more. This game does feel like if we're over that key total of 44.5, 44 being the key. So if you're over that key total of 44.5, I feel like that's an under bet for me.
I'd also be looking at some Kyren Williams props. Again, this was one of the games that, was a rushing mismatch in the Trench Report, and I do think a wet field and low-scoring game could lead to a lot of running here, so I'd be loading up on Kyren Williams in this game for the Rams. Let's talk about, might as well, while we're talking about weather, Jared, let's talk about the game that's going to be impacted the most by weather, and that is the Cleveland Browns hosting the Miami Dolphins. Right now, up on FanDuel, Cleveland is a 2.5-point favorite with a total of 36.5, and the National Weather Service released a storm warning for this game. There's already a 100% chance of precipitation, but we could have wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour in this game. Like, it's right now, it's calling for about 30 to 35 mile per hour winds, and they say the strong gusts could get up to between 50 and 60. Now, we know weathermen are wrong all the time, so this storm front can move off, the storm front could pass, it could wind up being later, but I can tell you right now, I've already loaded up on so many props in this game that have moved already, so congratulations to the CLV if it ever happens. But I went over Quinshon Judkins rushing yards. I went, and also this was identified in the Trench Report as a rushing mismatch. We know Miami, hello, Rico Dowdle. We know Miami can't stop the run. So I went over Quinshon Judkins rushing attempts. I went over Quinshon Judkins rushing yards. I went under Tua and Dylan Gabriel, both passing attempts and passing yards in this game. This could be a real ugly one there in Cleveland.
Yeah, and I think those markets are going to get bet, pummeled pretty hard.
Yep.
I mean, at some point, like 37 and a half, like at what point do you think that we do see a little bit of over money? I would say maybe 35. Like that kind of feels like the drop dead point. You don't see a lot of NFL totals below 36 very often. They don't close
But
below 36 very often. Very rare. So this would be obviously extenuating circumstances. I mean, in a vacuum, if let's say the weather is only half as bad as we think, I actually can see a path to some points in this game because again, the Browns pass rush, which is the strength of the team, Tua gets the ball out lightning quick. So it doesn't have as big of an effect. But I have no desire to bet an over in this game with what the weather is. Like I would wait till the actual literal death of kickoff to see what the weather is and then maybe play it live. If I think the weather maybe isn't as impactful on the game flow as where the number has moved accordingly. So really tough game to bet unless you got ahead of it. And then the prop market would be right. Like usually totals move first, then the first half total, then the first quarter total. It's derivative market filters down, and then the prop market will start to get whacked. So I think that's just kind of the flow of this game. And now we're probably midweek Friday going into Saturday, more so in that props getting hammered phase.
Yeah, we are already down. Tua's at 30.5 pass attempts. Dylan Gabriel, 29.5 pass attempts. Gabriel, 177.5 passing yards. Tua, 190.5
low for an
passing
NFL
yards.
game, though. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, so here's some data courtesy of the Action Network here. In 20-plus mile-per-hour winds, when the total has dropped by 6 points on the open, and this one opened at 43.5, and now we're down to 36.5. With a 6-point drop in the total in a wind game, the under is 9-3 in their database. And here's since this is what they write on the Action Network, since 2003, there have been 53 NFL games with sustained winds of 20 miles per hour or higher. Those games, 29-24 to the under. But in Cleveland, at this stadium, 13-2 to the under in 20-mile-an-hour winds. So the mistake by the lake has led to a lot of windy unders here, and that's the reason why we've seen the total
place
drop
for a football stadium
significantly. I think it's gonna be fun to watch on TV. I always love watching weather games on TV.
And it's two Hawaii quarterbacks. Two quarterbacks that are from the state of Hawaii, Gabriel and Tua, that are undersized, that don't have big rocket arms to cut through the wind. You got for Cleveland, they just traded one of their quarterbacks who would be perfect for this, Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
And then in Miami, you just lost your best receiver. Like it's just it's a comedy of errors for any points being scored, frankly.
Again, I hammered all the prop unders, and let's just hope Quinton Judkins rushes for 150 yards, and we'll see what happens in this game. Browns over the Dolphins was one of the Trench Report games, so I am on the Cleveland Browns to win that game as well. All right, let's move on to our next game. Let's talk about the Saints at the Bears. The Chicago Bears feeling themselves after that comeback victory. They are 4.5-point favorites up on FanDuel right now, total of 46.5. Are we to believe that getting a, do we call it a fluky win? Sure. Getting a fluky win after the bye and having them win 3 straight games changes our opinion on Caleb Williams and the Cleveland Browns?
No, it does not change a damn thing. You have to look. I know this sounds crazy, but you have to be willing to ignore wins. We are not in the, like, if we were a coach, I'd be fine with it. We won the game. We get to, celebrate the win. But we are not coaches. We are not in the mix. We are handicappers trying to be unbiased about the results. The Bears should have lost to the Commanders. They should have lost to the Raiders. We can't trust them as a big favorite. We just can't. And the Saints have been spunkier than we expected. So I agree, right? We saw this look ahead almost at a full touchdown. The line was Chicago minus 7.5 in the summer. We're starting to, move a little bit closer to the field goal range now. This is a little bit of a tighter number. It feels like an under game though, right? Indoor team going outdoors. New Orleans likes to run it. I think Chicago still, I don't fully trust Caleb to execute when he's supposed to execute. and this is a pretty high total, right? Like I got under 47. So that means 48's got to be scored. We talked about this with, bad teams sometimes. When you go touchdown the field goal in the red zone, you can't convert in the red zone. Though that's what kills over. So this feels like one of those kind of games that's like 21-17.
Yeah, this game does qualify as that zigzag system that we talk about in the NFL all the time. Teams that didn't cover last week playing against a team that did cover last week. You're 60% ATS this year, just playing those teams that did not cover the last week, going up against a team that did cover the last week. And I always think that when you're coming off of a win as an outright, you win outright as a dog, I always think that's a good time to fade the team. Like there's a letdown system in college football that I do, and actually there's 2 games that apply to it this weekend. It's when you beat a top 25 team as an underdog, and then the next week you are facing an unranked team as a favorite. And you'd be shocked, Jared. These teams are like 20-46 against the spread in the last 2 seasons. It's like a major letdown to have the role reversal. And so here we have a situation where the Chicago Bears won as a dog, right?
And now they're a big favorite the next
now-
week. Yeah, I
and now
love
they're
that.
a
I
favorite
that's I
against a
love
bad
market
team.
Trends.
Yeah, against a
Love
bad team they're favored
market
against.
trends. I love
Yeah.
that.
So I'm just curious here. Let's see if you're let's look it up real quick. This season, your opponent had a win as a dog. Okay. An opponent previous win as a dog, and now you are the dog to them. This season, as it's loading, all right, only 7-8 against the spread this season. I'd love to go back several years to see what it looks like. Anyway, you get the point. I want to fade the market overreaction here to the Chicago Bears. They're not as good as saying they won 3 straight games. All right, next game on the schedule here. Let's talk about the Patriots at the Titans. And here's the question. Do the Titans get the dead cat bounce? Because that's the question that everybody wants to know, right? It's when you fire the coach, do you get a boost? There's a strong ATS trend of when you fire the coach. However, Jared, you and I have talked about this before. There's different things that happen when you fire a coach. Okay? There's different things. There's 2 scenarios that occur here. And the Patriots, by the way, 7-point favorites over the Tennessee Titans in Nashville. Situation number 1. And I reference this in college a lot, but it's an NFL thing too. Situation number 1. The players completely agree with the coach being fired, and the players rally around usually a defensive assistant that takes over in the interim, and they fight for that coach. They rally for that coach because they want that coach to get the job. Think about Antonio Pierce, right? The Raiders players responded tremendously to Antonio Pierce. He had a great ATS record, right? We're seeing it in college football. Clearly, Deshaun Foster out at UCLA. You don't carry your offensive play caller off the field in your first win if the players don't clearly love that coach in Neuheisel, right? So that's one way a team responds to a coach being fired. The other way could be if the players don't agree with the coach being fired and then they suffer a letdown. Perfect example is the Jets last year. Robert Saleh gets fired. The players don't agree. They go from a top 5 defense to the worst defense in the NFL. They just completely tank after that. The third aspect of it, and this is where the Titans just might fall in. Nothing changes because the team sucks. So, what scenario do you think the Tennessee Titans fall into here with the head coaching change?
Agreed. It's more of number 3. I think the bigger part of the handicap here is, are we overbaking the chip with New England? This line was 1.5 in the summer. It was 6 last week. Now it's 7.
Mm-hmm.
Are we at that point now where New England as a road favorite is not quite at that level yet? This is still a young quarterback who's going to have highs and lows. I call him a heart attack every drop back. He's going to show you the ceiling, and then he's going to hold on to the ball, right? Like, for example, last week, highest EPA per drop back, 4th highest time to throw rate at over 3 seconds. So he's making plays, but he's also clinging to it a little bit too long. And sometimes you get burned. Sometimes the rush gets home when you're holding it for over 3 seconds. So I think the better question to ask is not how Tennessee will respond, is has the market overcooked New England now? Have we gotten too ahead of our skis with this Patriots team? They're a good, not great team. They're being priced like a great team. When you're a touchdown road favorite, you're a great team. I don't care who you're facing. You're a great team in the NFL. So that's where I would lean Tennessee, where I do think 7 is kind of that dividing line where we're getting a little bit too heavy on the Patriots. Will we get a little bit of a boost the first week after a coach firing? Yes, I think your ears perk up a little bit naturally. Does that mean it's going to last the whole year like it did for Antonio Pierce? Probably not with this Tennessee team because the talent's not quite there, and you've got a rookie quarterback that's going to be very up and down. But I would bet on there being a short-term dead cat bounce and then maybe a little bit of regression later. But I think the bigger handicap in this game is the pricing of New England and how we're starting to get a little bit too ahead of ourselves. Maybe. This Patriots team's good. I think, don't get me wrong, Drake May looks like a MVP runner-up. He's not going to win it this year, I don't think, but he's there. I just think we're getting a little bit too heavy with this Patriots pricing.
Mike McCoy is the head coach with the Chargers as a touchdown dog or greater, 6-2 against the spread. So rallying the troops, maybe. I mean, how much can we take away from his time with the Chargers and parlay it here to going from an assistant, not even like a coordinator, but just a senior assistant, to now being the head coach. We'll see what the reaction is from the Titans. I do agree with the move. Like, you had to get rid of Callahan, like, for sure.
Agreed. He was 4-19.
Yeah, 100%.
Against the spread. I didn't know that was possible.
Unbelievable. The Raiders visit the Kansas City Chiefs, and this is a big spread here, Jared. Up on FanDuel right now, the Kansas City Chiefs are a sizable favorite as they're 12.5-point favorites over the Raiders. What do we think about KC covering this big number?
Yeah, it's a good 10-point teaser look. You know, if you have those available in your arsenal this week, this is a time to whip it out. You don't always get a good opportunity with those big mega teasers. This would be an opportunity, I think, if you can piece together a couple other legs. Rice is back. The offense looks better, but I still feel like this is a defensive team first with the Chiefs. Like, I think the Chiefs, when they're at their best, they are stuffing physical Lions teams into lockers like they did on Sunday night.
Yeah.
A good Lions front, a good Lions O-line run game just got absolutely bulldozed. Like, that's the best part of the Chiefs, I think. And obviously Mahomes, don't get me wrong, but when the Chiefs are at their peak, they are physical at the line of scrimmage defensively, and they were that against the Lions. They played a good game. I don't want to hear any ref slander. That was a good, physical, clean game that the Chiefs won the other night, and they look like the best team in their division for sure. Under would be my only look here, right? Like, the path for the Raiders is to run, and keep Mahomes on the sidelines. The path for the Chiefs is to just clamp down on Geno and just make this a very one-dimensional game. So I think under is my only look here.
Got to go Rashee Rice anytime touchdown at plus 130, right?
If you're feeling the narrative vibes, yes.
I mean, everything you're hearing from the quotes from the players, they're all so, like, happy to have him back. Like, they're going to force feed him for sure. Like, it just feels
he's
like
a stud. Like, people don't realize. I mean, guys, the Chiefs are winning the Super Bowl again. I'm sorry. Everyone's gonna be so mad when it happens. I'm just prepping you for it now. When it happens, you heard it here first.
Yeah, it feels that way. Let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles going up against the Minnesota Vikings. Philly, a 2.5-point road favorite, total of 43.5 up on FanDuel right now. And it feels like a bad spot for Philly, in my opinion. I think the Vikings are getting healthier now after the bye. I don't know if it's, J.J. McCarthy's not ready yet, so Carson Wentz might get another start here. But defensively, I think they're getting healthier. Just feels like a bad spot here for Philly. I would certainly, from a prop perspective, I'd look at some of the unders with some Philly wide receivers. Unders on Smith, under on Brown. I think it's going to be that type of defensive game here for Brian Flores and the Vikings.
Interesting. I'll be honest, I don't have a strong opinion on this one. I think our Bet US team, Kevin O'Neill and Steve Fezzik, made a strong case for the Eagles today. Maybe saying that the Vikings still aren't quite, don't have their sea legs back from under them after the London trip. Like, maybe it's a 2-week thing and not just a 1-week thing, and that the bye week only got them part of the way back. I don't know if I fully buy that. I think the case against Philly is their secondary. And like they were getting torched by Wandale Robinson and Lil Jordan Humphrey. What's going to happen when it's Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison?
Yeah.
Like, but then you also have Carson Wentz, that factor that can be a little bit, fugazi sometimes. So again, like I do see strong elements on both sides here. So it's a stay away for me. But I would say that Jefferson and Addison have a pretty good matchup this week against that Eagles secondary.
For sure. Speaking of another good matchup here, the Carolina Panthers visit the Jets. Carolina, 1.5-point road favorite, total of 42.5. They get Chuba Hubbard back from injury, and I don't know like which guy is going to get the bulk of the carries here. Rico with 2 straight 200-yard scrimmage games, and Chuba coming back from the injury against the Jets defense that can't stop anybody. I mean, both guys might eat in this game.
Yeah. So my vibe in this game was this game is going to be so gross it's going to go over. Like that was, like you get these games sometimes where both offenses are just kind of like Keystone copping their way through the game, yet somehow we get these fluky weird plays that pushes a low total game over the total. And the reason that the totals dipped a bit is the Garrett Wilson injury. Obviously, he looks like he's not going to play, which clearly takes away any semblance of a vertical threat for the Jets offense.
But you know what's crazy, Jared? If you look at Garrett Wilson's numbers and you take away the garbage time numbers, he really hasn't done anything this season. And that means that Justin Fields' numbers actually look worse because a lot of the stuff, and I know, some of that was Tyrod Taylor as well, but some of the touchdowns and the yardage plays for Garrett Wilson came in the garbage time moments in those losses, the back-to-back couple of losses ago.
The Jets need to take their head out of their ass and play football. What they did in Denver or in London against Denver the other day was disgraceful. You gained 1.4 yards per play. That is, you can take a carry and fall over and get 2 yards. And they couldn't even average that in an entire football game. It was by far the most disgraceful display of offense I've seen all year. They need to be very aggressive with their play calling and with their scheme this week against a significantly worse defense in Carolina. You're at home. Bryce Young's a different quarterback on the road. They need to show something. Aaron Glenn, he's the worst now that Callahan's fired, is the worst coach in the NFL. Period. End of story. It's not even close, frankly. And again, I think this game is going to be so ugly that it's going to go over the total. Like it's going to be one of those games where both teams are making so many mistakes that it's just leaving the other team in good field positions and with short fields and with opportunities to score. So 41.5. Obviously, weather could play a factor, but you do have 2, I'll call it at least, semi-dangerous offenses in their own right. The Jets can still run it, and they've shown you some ceiling with their run game, and obviously the Panthers over the last couple weeks have kind of been better. So 41.5 felt like a reasonable over bet. I think this game's going to be ugly, but I think we get over the total.
I could see it happening. Also, coaches wearing capris are 1-11 this season between Mike McDaniel and Aaron Glenn. So there you have it.
Capri season. Capri Suns on the sidelines for everyone.
The Giants visit the Broncos in a very interesting game. The Broncos are 7-point favorites, Jared, and the Broncos are identified as a trench report mismatch here because their lines have been incredible. Like they grade out as the best offensive and defensive units in the league. They're fantastic. And True Media put out something on Twitter yesterday. There was a great stat about different types of pressure, right? And it was like pressure where it affects the quarterback and pressure where it's like after the quarterback had already released the football. So it's like, you beat they beat the offensive lineman, right? But it didn't exactly affect the play. Or like maybe it forced the quarterback to get rid of the football, but it's not like they got a sack or a quarterback hit or a disruption of the pass. But if you look at the players that have had those biggest disruptions, it's Nick Bonino on the Denver Broncos and Bonito's teammate on the Denver Broncos, which is I'm going crazy here with the defensive
Zach Allen.
Defensive end here. Zach Allen.
Franklin Myers or Zach Allen?
No, right. Zach Allen. No. Yes. They are causing so much pressure. It's amazing. So Denver, I get it. I love it. Think about this spot, though. We talked last week about how the Cleveland Browns were in the first ever historic spot in the NFL to come back from an international game without a bye and play a team coming off of a bye in the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Broncos return from London without a bye and face a Giants team coming off a mini bye who played on Thursday night. So it's not the same, but it's kind of similar.
And they're also at home. They're at home.
Yes.
I'll be honest. I think if you dig into the spot a little more, the Giants are coming off. They're a young team with a rookie quarterback and a young, core. They're coming off of an upset win over the Super Bowl champs. Do you really
This
think
is the
they
letdown.
took advantage of the mini bye? Do you think they were probably living it up this weekend in New York? Like, I actually think this is a great spot to bet the Broncos. First of all, this line was 10 last week. What the heck has changed in a week where this line goes from 10 to 7 and kisses up against the key number?
Yep.
Not much.
Nothing, just a spot.
I don't feel any differently about the Giants after that win last week. They beat up on a Eagles team that was limping along, and the Giants just punched them right in the mouth. You're going to see that with Jackson Dart. You're going to see a lot of highs from him. They're going to be a very fun team to watch when they're not pressured and they're not being put on the back foot. But then you're going to see him go to New Orleans and turn it over 5 times. And that feels like this kind of vibe, this game. And if you turn it over 5 times in Denver, you're not losing by 12. You're losing by 30. This feels like a really good spot to buy Denver. It honestly does at 7.
I mean, I like it. I mean, I played Denver. I was just, concerned about the travel, but then again, could last week have just been?
They're not flying coach. They're fine.
Yeah, exactly.
They're
Could
fine.
last week also?
And the teams have actually won the week after with no bye. That is a trend. Like, the teams have won. I don't know about all the covered, but they've won.
And I'm also just wondering, like, could last week's performance against the Jets just been let's just get the hell out of Dodge here.
Peyton knew I only have to go to so many plays on this sheet to win. I don't need to get to the real cream of the crop stuff. I can run my B and C stuff and get by the Jets because that's how pathetic they are.
Which is unbelievable that that was like a game that I lost ATS last week. Like, how the Broncos did not cover that game. You look at that box score, 9.5 out of 10 times that team covers a touchdown spread.
1.5 yards per play. Now listen, this is one of those spots too, Scott. You've got to ignore that. I was on Denver last week too, and it was a rough beat. You can't let that affect this wager. This is a good spot for Denver. For example, who's better, Jets or Giants?
The Giants, significantly.
Same spread this week.
Yeah, and they're at home. Doesn't make sense.
And they're at home.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. They should have been a 10-point favorite against the Jets and a 7-point favorite against the Giants, but it really was flipped.
Yep.
Like, it just doesn't make sense.
100% right. And again, this falls into the letdown spot that we talked about. The Giants. I mean, Cam Scadaboo ripping his shirt open and celebrating. I mean, come on, you're not going to be able to do that
Denver by 3 scores.
Yeah. It feels that way. Commanders visit the Cowboys. Commanders a 1.5-point road favorite here, total of 54.5. And how many points is Washington going to score on this Dallas defense? That's the question here.
The unders have done well with the high totals. 60% under rate when the total's 55 or higher in the last 20 years. So, we hear this a lot. If it's high for a reason. In the NFL, you've got to have a consistent, sustained offense for 4 quarters to go over a total of 55. The way that the clock is run, the running plays, the pace, it's really tough. Now, in the last 4 years, since 2020, 31 data points, 21 and 10. The under, when the total is 55 or higher, that's almost 70%. So one bad quarter, a couple of field goals in the red zone, and you're not going over this total. So if you just think I'm just going to bet over 55 because these defenses stink, I think you're kind of chasing the carrot, and they're going to get, you're going to get the stick. It feels like a good bounce back spot for Washington, but man, that was just an ugly, ugly win. or an ugly performance with the fumbles
Yeah.
in the second half against Chicago. So no play for me here. I would lean under, but I don't want to bet an under in this game. Even though the under's been the profitable side, it's not an enjoyable wager.
I'm just gonna go with some Bill props here. Get Ja'Cory
There you
Krosky better
go.
at the football. Let him run all over this Cowboys defense. See if he can pull a Rico Dowdle. The Packers visit the Cardinals. Packers 6.5-point favorites on FanDuel right now. Total of 44.5. And Kyler Murray still very limited in practice, so we might get another a Jacoby Brissett game here for Arizona, and I think that's going to lead to this spread jumping north of a touchdown. And I think I would get in on the Packers now because Jacoby Brissett is a guy. I want your opinion on this, Jared. I made a joke last week in recapping the games or whatever, and maybe I did it previewing it with you, or maybe I did it recapping it with Mackenzie. I said we need to make an award called the Jacoby Brissett Award. Okay, and this award goes to the backup quarterback that can win you a game, but you do not want starting a second game. Okay,
Interesting.
that is Jacoby Brissett. He can come in and he can win you that football game. Heck, he might even win you two. But if he has to start 3 or more, absolutely not. And I think this is a spot where last week he played great against the Indianapolis Colts. If he has to start again this week, the Green Bay Packers will shut down this offense. You can mark my words.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a logical approach. I think the fallen hero angle is one game usually is what you get where the production doesn't dip when a star player misses. But here's the next question we have to ask ourselves. Is Kyler Murray really a star at this point? Is Arizona's best case scenario, best path to winning, actually a guy that's going to play within the structure of the offense and make the throws necessary and not try to be a hero? Like a lot of times with Kyler, we see the hero ball and that gets him into trouble. My vibe for this game from a betting standpoint is you allow the news to happen, you allow the market to shift, and then you come back and you bet Arizona north of a touchdown. Like that's my first instinct. Just because we haven't seen the ceiling from Green Bay since that early stages, and I'm willing to pay for that. They're being, again, when you're a touchdown plus road favorite, just like New England, you are considered an elite. Only the elite of the elites are favored by more than a touchdown on the road.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like Green Bay, we saw it, and then they gave us that little tease. We have not seen it since. Show it to me. Show it to me. I would
Yeah.
say touchdown plus Arizona would be the bet, but that I don't feel strongly about it because, to your point, I don't fully trust Jacoby Brissett.
I mean, I certainly can't do it with Brissett if he has to start again in this spot. Okay, Sunday Night Football. You got the Atlanta Falcons at the San Francisco 49ers. San Francisco minus 1.5, total of 46.5. And it appears, even though on yesterday's pod or the day before, I think it was yesterday's pod, I talked about how good Brock Purdy looked in the practice film that was released, because there was a video that was circulating on Twitter of Brock Purdy and looking good with his footwork. But now all indications from Kyle Shanahan, and maybe it's because Purdy didn't react well to maybe treatment or rest after that practice, but it looks like it's going to be Mac Jones here for another week for the San Francisco 49ers.
Bro, the Niners voodoo is just at an all-time low right now. I don't know what is going on with this team. It is insane with the Warner. I think the Warner injury is really the one that matters more. The difference between Jones and Purdy right now, I think, is maybe a point at maximum. But losing Warner for the year is the heart and soul of that defense. I feel awful for Salah. I mean, he really looked like he had a good thing going there with that defense early in the year. They looked like a team that was going to compete. Mykel Williams has been a total bust as a first-round pick, and now you lose Warner. I think eventually you're going to see a drop-off with this Niners defense. Atlanta, though, I don't know how good they are, guys. I really don't. I don't know what their ceiling is. Penix, right? Like, we expected more from Penix this year. He is playing very limited. Just 4 touchdown passes. His completion percentage over expected is a minus. Their defense is good enough to keep them in games. They feel like a 9-8 team that loses on Wild Card Saturday. Like that's kind of the vibes I get from Arizona. I mean, from Atlanta. Like that's kind of that's kind of where I'm at with the Falcons right now.
I don't think we see a repeat of last week, and where of the 32 pass attempts, 16 of them go to Drake London, and the rest.
Yeah,
and
maybe
the
we
rest
want
go
to
to,
cover 5. Maybe we want to
yeah,
cover number 5 for
and the
Atlanta.
rest go to Bijan Robinson. So, like, I think that there's going to be a little bit of a different defensive game plan here
Yeah.
for Robert Saleh going up against Drake London. Now, does that mean it's going to be another really good Bijan running game? Probably. But
Yeah.
so
I don't have
I'm
a strong
curious.
feel for this game, honestly. The line was 6.5 over the summer. So at some point, there's going to be some Niners money that steps in. But because of the quarterback situation, I just don't know where. And I just, the defensive injuries, like this game's a mess. This game's a mess.
And we know the NFL is just a week to week league, right? And the way that you can make money is just fading the recency bias. We talked about it with looking at just week 1 to week 2, because that was like the first data point that we get on teams. And I feel like the biggest change of opinion happens in week number one, or the biggest incorrect change of opinion happens after week number 1, but you could apply it to every single week. I mean, we talked about the trends. You're 60% if you just take the teams that didn't cover playing against the teams that did cover. Now, if you just, take a look at this season, how about just wins or losses? If you lost a game and your opponent won a game this year, let's see, you're 64% ATS this season. You are 64, but you're 25-14.
Fade the
If you just
noise. Fade
if
the
you just
noise.
play the team that lost playing against the team that won.
Fade the noise. That's it.
Oh my goodness.
I honestly like, and we use a lot of the stats, and like you're really good with the trends and like the SQDuel stuff, and I think that stuff is great. But a lot of times, like, just keep it simple. Like, don't overthink it. Like a lot of
Yeah.
times, these games, the market dictates where you should go. That's why I love the market trends. Honestly, and it's not because I've had this great record this year, but you can kind of get the feel for when these teams are going to have letdowns. I don't think the letdowns are as prevalent in college. I don't. I just don't. I think these college kids only know one speed. But I think in the NFL, because of the professional element of it, there is a certain high and a low point where you don't, like, these teams are all kind of baseline, and they just show you their best and their worst on any given week. And then when the market moves to that level, you need to ignore it because you know that the baseline is probably somewhere in the middle.
And we also know that in the NFL, it's a sport where you can lose 7 games and still make the playoffs. So it's not, there might be a week where, hey, the team just doesn't have it that week. And you know what? It's not going to derail your season. It's fine. Like
Atlanta lost 30-0.
I was just going to say 30-0.
And then Carolina came back the next week and lost by 30 to New England.
Yes. It's a week-to-week league. It happens very, very quickly. And that's why fading the public opinion and the public perception is very, very profitable. I mean, look no further than
fading
last
the
night.
market moves, really. Like, that's why the Denver game's so appealing. If you bet this game last week, you're laying 10. What the heck has changed in a week where we are that much more certain that, Jackson Dart's the next coming of Jesus, where we're shaving off 3 points off of this spread? Like, it's just, you have to be willing to look the other way.
Completely agree. All right, Jared, that'll wrap things up here for this episode of Better Day, a little Football Friday episode, some programming notes coming up later on this afternoon. AJ Hoffman will join me, talk a little college football as we get ready for a big slate in the top 25 coming up tomorrow. Up on betterday.com right now, in addition to the Trench Report, which is always available under the Research and Analysis tab, you can find the fantasy football article. Nick Whalen of RotoWire joined me. You can listen to that conversation in that article. There's the link. You can click and listen to that conversation, or you can just read the article for all of the picks and the plays for fantasy football and pick 'em and props and stuff. We talked a lot about the weather games because that's going to have an impact. Certainly that game in Cleveland is the biggest weather impact that we're going to see. So a lot of props that we talked about are in that article, in the Better Day Fantasy article up on the Research and Analysis tab. And coming soon, we are still working on it. We are cooking it up together, but we're going to post the systems article, the systems page. My goal here, Jared, is to have a one-stop destination for people to go to to view the systems that we talk about here on the pods that we reference all the time. So, like you just heard me talk
Good.
in this episode about, oh, well, if you bet on the team that won last week against the team that lost last week, this is what the numbers are. So, my goal is you can go to the website, you can click on a little drop down menu that search by sport, NBA, NFL, college basketball, and a trend or a system will pop up and you'll see the records for it. So you don't have to do any searching. You can just, it's all there for you. And it's not like it's every single system that I know. It's just some of the favorite ones that I talk about.
Yeah.
College basketball.
It's
one of my
impossible to
favorite
keep track of every system. It's really hard. Guys.
Exactly. No, this is just like, hey, college basketball. And it's what my goal is, it's only the things that happen a couple of times a year, like college basketball, unranked home favorites against ranked opponents.
I'll be honest though, I think
Love
those
that.
are kind of being priced out, to be perfectly honest with you.
Sure.
I think
sure.
the markets are now making those used to be like -2, now they're like -5. Like they're
Yes.
just they're getting much sharper with those lines.
And something that you'll notice when you look at that system, here's a little teaser, straight up record phenomenal. ATS.
ATS not as good.
Little
That makes
drop
sense.
off.
Especially
Little
I bet
drop
in the last 3 to 5
Yeah.
years now that betting media has become very
Mhm.
chatty Cathy about this
Yep.
kind of stuff. I bet those trends are starting to get right because we talk about this all the time. What's the best way to kill a trend? It's just to talk about it.
Yes. Also, and the NHL trends will be up there as well. Some of the favorite ones. Again, these are ones that happen maybe like 10 times over the course of a year, like teams playing the second of a back-to-back here in Vegas, or teams playing the second of a back-to-back in Toronto is another good one. NBA teams playing the second of a back-to-back in Denver. Very strong trends there. So these are things that we want to provide you guys because we talk about it all the time on these episodes. And so many times people hit us up on Twitter and they're like, hey, what was that trend that you talked about that team? And then also we know there's articles that are all over the internet about trend. I just want to kind of make it simple for you guys. And instead of a trend, it's more of a system. And I want to make that accessible for you guys. So we're working on putting a nice little piece, a nice little page together for you up on betterday.com. So be on the lookout for that. You can always follow Jared Smith on Twitter at Jared Smith Bets. Catch him tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Pacific time, 9 a.m. Eastern on Fox Sports Radio's Countdown to Kickoff as he gets you ready for the college football slate. I bet you do a lot of the big noon kickoff game on that show.
Oh,
right,
I
Jared?
can't wait. Good college slate this weekend. Really good college slate this weekend. I'm excited for you and AJ to chop it up. I'll have to catch that. But I'll be honest, man, like we're in the meat of it now, especially in the SEC.
Oh boy, you got the big ABC game, the noon game, Vanderbilt and LSU, and there is no big noon kickoff game. The Fox game is an afternoon game. It's a later game, right? There's no 9 a.m. Fox game, or actually there might be. It's just not a top 25 game. Let me see the schedule. I didn't see a top 25.
I'm not really sure, to be honest with you.
Let's see. Yep, the big noon kickoff game is Washington, Michigan.
That's actually a
about
good
that?
game. That's actually a pretty good game.
It is a good game. It is a good game. Ooh, 9 a.m. body clock game for Washington.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I
Ooh.
kind of like teaser. I kind of like Washington a little bit.
Okay. All right, catch Jared tomorrow on Fox Sports Radio. I'll be on VSiN tomorrow night giving the NFL preview show, 7 o'clock Pacific time. So catch me there. Hit me up on Twitter at Scott's On Air. And here's hoping you make today and every day a better day.
Weight loss solutions are not one size fits all. Hers makes it simpler to get started and stick with a weight loss plan, backed by expert-guided online care that puts your weight loss goals first. These include oral medication kits or compounded GLP-1 injections. Through Hers, pricing for oral medication kits start at just $69 a month for a 10-month plan when paid in full upfront. No hidden fees, no membership fees. You shouldn't have to go out of your way to feel like yourself. Hers brings expert care straight to you with 100% online access to personalized treatment plans that put your goals first. Reach your weight loss goals with help through Hers. Get started at forhers.com/4u to access affordable, doctor-trusted weight loss plans. That's forhers.com/4u, forhers.com/4u. Paid for by Hims and Hers Health. Weight loss by Hers is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Restrictions at forhers.com. Apply